Persak. I'm a dietitian and a nutrition counselor, and I'm here today on behalf of Koma Shambhala. Our topic for today's Sassy Mamas Ask the Experts is food allergies in children. When it comes to whether or not we should supplement with probiotics while breastfeeding, the current research is actually quite interesting. Firstly, the decision to breastfeed alone is something that can establish the gut microbiome for the infant and also improve the child's immunity. So that's protective in and of itself. When we formula feed, that's actually been shown to increase a child's risk of allergic disease. However, when it comes to the supplementation of the mother, probiotics have not really been shown to consistently support the reduced allergy risk of the child. They have been shown to be helpful when it comes to atopic dermatological diseases like eczema, but when it comes to food-related allergies, the mother's supplementation doesn't seem to be protective when it comes to probiotics. However, if you supplement with fish oils, those omega-3s have actually been shown to be helpful in reducing risk of food allergies, particularly with nut and with egg allergies. However, in the context of that breastfeeding environment, what is useful is supplementing the infant along with the breast milk. Those two actually work together synergistically, and it's shown that the breast milk actually helps to prolong the effects of the supplement. So most supplementation has kind of short-lasting effects, but it nearly doubles the effects of the supplementation when the child's breastfeeding and supplementing with a probiotic. The probiotic that I tend to prefer to suggest is Bifidobacterium longum. When we look at allergy risk, the two variables that we kind of focus on are genetics and environment. The genetics will determine the susceptibility or the predisposition that the child will have allergies, and then the environment will let us know whether or not that susceptibility actually materializes or manifests and what the allergy profile is. So the risk, when we look at genetics, the risk of a child developing allergies who has one parent with allergies is about 30 to 50%. When both parents have allergies, that increases to around 50 to 80%. When we look at gender, or the gender of the parent, there's a strong correlation between mothers and daughters and fathers and sons. That correlation about doubles the risk. So essentially, we know that there's a relationship between whether or not they're going to inherit a predisposition, but it's not until that child grows up and they have their own interaction with their environment that we know what kinds of allergies they'll have. When we're looking at how to prevent allergies during pregnancy, we used to think that it was wise for a mother to avoid certain allergens, but we now understand that early introduction can actually be protective. One study showed that pregnant mothers who consumed peanuts about 5 times a week throughout their pregnancy, their infants actually had a reduced risk. And it's believed now that early exposure can actually increase the infant's tolerance to certain allergenic food. But what's important to remember is that that's usually in the context of a family where there's a non-allergic mother. When you have allergies within the family, it's best to consult with your healthcare provider to make sure that that's safe. It's a safe choice. Under those circumstances, I always recommend probiotic supplementation for the pregnant mom. What that does is it actually, we used to believe that the first introduction or the first inoculation of the microbiome of the infant occurred during childbirth. But we now understand that there's actually a crosstalk between the mother's microbiome and the fetus in utero. One particular bacterial strain that I love that's been shown to be helpful is Bifidobacterium Bifidum, and that one's been actually shown to reduce the incidence of allergic disease in infants when the pregnant mother is using that in her supplementation. When we're looking at the timing of introduction of allergic foods like eggs or peanuts for an infant, The story's kind of changed a bit. It used to be that we thought we needed to wait longer, but the incidence of allergy has doubled in the meanwhile. So both allergy professionals and pediatricians are now recommending early exposure for the infant as well. Interestingly, some sources suggest that you can introduce things like peanuts to a child's diet even before 6 months. There's some recent legislation that's occurred in countries like America where, because the introduction early has been shown to reduce the risk of allergy, certain products that include, like certain infant foods and products that include ground nuts or ground peanut or powdered peanuts, they can actually use that as a health claim to say that it may reduce the risk of peanut allergy. The key signs of an allergy depend on the type of allergy. This is also kind of a topic that has quite a bit of debate surrounding it. The most well-known type of allergy is an IgE-related allergy, and that's one that is an immediate reaction that has that classic anaphylaxis that you might notice, like a rash, you might notice swelling, shortness of breath, or respiratory troubles, and those are the ones that can be life-threatening depending upon what kind of allergy you have or what kind of food is causing the allergy or the degree of sensitivity. The next type is a non-IgE food allergy, and this type of allergy is a little bit less well understood. It has a slower reaction. It's usually a few hours, sometimes 5 or 6 hours after consuming the food. And this allergy is one, it involves the immune system, but it involves different pathways in the immune system that are separate from the pathways that we talked about first with those IgE reactions. Often the symptoms of this type of allergy tend to be gastrointestinal, so gas or bloating or pain. Sometimes vomiting can occur. There's a third type that's called an IgG allergy, and this is one that's kind of controversial. This is one where the symptoms can present likely days later, and it's mostly related to like a hypersensitivity to certain foods. There's not a universal consensus surrounding whether or not that qualifies as an allergy, but how an allergy presents largely depends upon which of those three. The other thing that's important to remember is that we're still learning so much about allergic disease, that those are just the three that we know now. Who knows, what's coming down the proverbial chute from a research perspective, but those are the three foremost at this time. Many parents often ask about how to help their child grow out of an allergy. When we look at the different types of allergies, milk and eggs are two allergens that some children can grow out of. It's less likely and it's very rare for a child to grow out of a nut allergy. And interestingly, things like seafood allergy present later in life, sometimes in adulthood if they don't occur in childhood. So I would think it's important to just kind of look at what's possible. But probiotic supplementation has actually been shown to be quite helpful. It actually has been shown to reduce the symptoms and even reduce the sensitivity to certain trigger foods. One bacterial strain that I love is Lactobacillus rhamnosis. That's one that's shown quite a bit of promise in the research. Otherwise, tending to the child's diet makes a big difference. A lot of research suggests that standard American diet or Western diet has been shown to increase the risk of allergic disease or kind of almost contribute to it. Some believe that it's because of the pro-inflammatory kind of parts of the diet, the refined grains, the extra sugars, but also when we consume foods that have a lot of processed ingredients, some of the current research is showing that a lot of those processed ingredients can actually be immune disruptors. I always try to recommend organic, mostly because with these animal products, if we're introducing them, there are certain antibiotics that are being used in the growing in a lot of conventional or non-organic foods. So by purchasing organics, you can kind of reduce your child's exposure to unnecessary antibiotics. And then making sure that your child has a comprehensive diet is critical. When a child is getting enough food sources of omega-3 fatty acids, of fat-soluble vitamins, of certain antioxidants. That's been shown to be extremely helpful with reducing allergic disease. And if a child does have allergies, I tend to observe that parents do the opposite. The diet becomes more restricted because they're trying to make sure that the food repertoire is safe. And a lot of my work involves kind of supporting parents and building a complete diet that's also safe, one that helps to promote development, but also keeps that full food supply, or as much of the food supply as possible, available to that growing little one. For more information, go to the Sassy Mama website.